and welcome back to Directorial Disputes, the podcast where we give our unpopular film opinions and battle it out to decide whether they are deserving of their unpopular label. I'm James.
I'm Josh.
And this week's unpopular opinion comes from the blue corner. The corner that isn't me, after a ribbing that I got last week from saying that superhero movies need to stop and ultimately losing the battle.
Yes.
Josh comes in with his unpopular opinion this week. And what is that unpopular opinion, Josh?
The 2001 A Space Odyssey is a beautiful, boring masterpiece. Because
bold words.
I mean, is it?
bold words, but you know what? That's not how this works. I don't get to say what I want to say yet. You now have a period of time, however long you want it to be, and I will do the gentlemanly thing, and even mute my microphone so I can't shout and scream at you while you say what you want to say, to explain why your opinion, be it unpopular, shouldn't be. And I'll hand you the stage.
All right. Well, so first time I watched this film was over lockdown. I did a movie marathon of all of the things that I had and then didn't watch, and all of the other films I was like, even if they were a bit naff, I got through them. With 2001, I genuinely probably would have been more entertained by going to sleep. So don't get me wrong, as from the title, there are really good parts about this film. So I've got it here. Like obviously, like the song, like the music, iconic. The monkeys, they're iconic. The monolith is iconic. The scene with the tools, again, iconic. That's one of the main things from this film. Really, it's iconic. I don't know if you can tell. The bone transition where they throw it up, that's pretty cool. The effects in it, obviously for the time and still now, are really cool and really good. The set design, the soundtrack, the sound design, phenomenal. That's the reason this film sticks around. But my main thing, which getting to the reason I was saying boring, is because it just feels so long. It's 2 hours 28 minutes, most of which is just the opening black screen. Which is like 2 minutes and 55, actually, but of a black screen with just ooh over it for some reason. I guess it's supposed to be like an artistic, it's like space, but the rest, well, actually, I'll get back to that, but most of this film is space, so why they did that, I don't know. It takes 20 minutes to get into space in this space movie. This space odyssey. I mean, it's an odyssey to get to the space, if that's what they meant by the title. It's really pretty, and I'm going through my notes at this point in chronological order. So at this point, I said it's pretty, but is anything actually gonna happen? And if so, can it happen quicker? I was like, an action scene where there's a door opening, and from the point where after, the tool transition and we go into space, tell me what happens from that point in the film to pod bay doors, because quite frankly, I don't know. I've seen the film twice. I rewatched it today. It was a blur. I don't know. There's just nothing happened. I thought it could have just been that black screen, actually, because my brain is just not having it. But I think it's because the 2001 came out in 68, I think. And I get it. Pacing in films back then was different. But quite frankly, if this film took, like, at a normal speed, if this is ran at a normal speed, this film wouldn't even be eligible for a short film nomination. I mean, the shortest film that won an Oscar or got nominated, I think, or at least nominated for an Oscar, was 1 minute and 40 seconds, and quite frankly, I think this film would be over if people actually did things at a normal pace. The briefing in the film the plot actually gets started 43 minutes into the film. And I know in space things move slow, well, actually really quick, but people walk slow, if you couldn't tell. 43 minutes into a film, and it's like it should be the end of like the first act, and the plot only just starts then. What? It doesn't make any sense. Again, I think most of it was that black screen at the start, and then we change protagonist 56 minutes in, and Hitchcock's knocking at the door saying, "Can I have my plot twist back, please?" Um, like most films would have been like quicker to intro that. Like you'd start with the at the start with the briefing, and not 43 minutes in, and you wouldn't need to change the it's just it doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Everyone talks really slowly, again for no reason. Again, I don't know if that's like the acting of the era, probably. I mean, but I've seen films that people talk normally that came out in the 60s. So again, I don't know if being in space means you talk slower, if that's what that means. Apparently, during this point, looking at my notes, I had fun because I put Little Spinny Man, and apparently that was the only thing that got me back into this film. And then, obviously, with the pod bay doors, I've just written in all caps, he said the thing. He does say the thing, and at that point, I still couldn't recount what had actually happened. I know this is, again, completely unrelated, really, to the fact that the film is boring, but there's a flickering TV screen, and I honestly thought I was going to have a seizure. It's just flickering so, like, mad, and I don't know why they thought that was a good idea to keep in. It's not like it was supposed to be trippy. It's not an effect. It's just a TV screen. But then something actually happens in this film. Something actually happens, and it's the weird, like, wavy, he goes through the thing, and it's the opening of Doctor Who. They stole that. But, cool effect, but it's been done on TV, like, years ago. And like the trippy landscapes that go on for way too long. If any, like basically everything in this film takes forever. And like when he's going through before he gets to the white, everything where the rooms where he's old, he sees himself as an old man and all of that. It looks like someone's hit the saturation filter in Photoshop and ruined all their pictures. I don't understand why we see that landscape shot over and over and over again. For, again, way too long. Just like my explanation of why this film's boring, if you couldn't tell. I'm really padding it out for time. The ending is iconic. I should have put this on the pros list. In fairness, this is, again, a bit of the film I remember. So, really, if anything, this film has 3 scenes. It's the opening, the pod bay doors, and the end. That's it. 3 scenes. What else happens in this film? When we get to the rebuttal after and you unmute your mic, I'm interested to know what happened in this film. Because, again, I don't know. So, the last note I have on here is this film called 2001? Because it feels like it takes a year to watch. So, I'm intrigued to know. You can unmute your mic now.
I mean, now you've said enough about Little Spinny Man and his black screen of death. Oh boy, did you have your eyes shut for the entire film?
I mean, I don't think I did, but quite frankly, it felt like it.
It's just outrageous. So your argument here, so just reiterate what your opinion is.
Everything, it should be, this film should be like an hour and a half. This film should be short. If this film was shorter, maybe at like 2 hours. It's just too long. Everything is slow. The pacing is what's wrong with this film.
Opinion is it's a beautiful film.
It's beautiful.
It looks really nice and it's got a lovely score, but it's just a bit boring.
It's boring.
What you're saying.
This film has all of the pacing of a painting.
Josh, what are your thoughts on the film Rear Window? Ever seen it?
Yes, I have seen it.
Do you know how long it is? I can't.
I don't know.
But let's say it's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half of a man looking out of his back window.
Yeah, but with that, I'm intrigued. Things happen.
Why are you intrigued about that? And not
but things actually happen in that.
Things happen in this.
Do they? There's 3 scenes.
Right. So, right. No. No. For
See, actually,
starters,
you're reenacting a scene from the film where they say just things again and again, just slowly, just to pad out for time.
I'm not sure what I know what you mean about this whole slow thing.
The whole film is slow.
I mean the talking. I understand you think the film's slow. You had your eyes shut. But here we are. The opening scene. You've said it's iconic, and it is. And you've said the ending's iconic,
Yeah.
which it is. And there's that one line that he says, which
Yeah.
is iconic, which I think is "Sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that."
That scene. There's those 3 scenes.
That's the three. That's the 3 scenes, is it?
Yeah. Because I
Okay.
can't.
Well,
Anything else in there? Nothing.
from the standpoint of a sane human who knows that this is an amazing film, I can't disagree with you more. I just cannot. Don't get me wrong, right? There's some interesting choices in this film. It's Stanley Kubrick being Stanley Kubrick, and there's some really bizarre trivia about this film.
Oh.
So did you know that while making it, Stanley Kubrick approached Lloyd's of London to try and take out insurance against the fact that if extraterrestrial life was found during the filming of this film, it wouldn't affect its sales or anything like that. So he wouldn't lose any money. They denied the insurance because
That's always.
frankly.
Okay.
And I think the other piece that I remember is that in its people in your boat, people who are with you, these are your people. You should find
My
them and seek
people.
them out. At one of the
boy.
premieres, after the intro, something like 250 people just walked out.
Yeah, because it. They probably thought it was over. They probably thought the projector was broken.
No.
It was a black
I'm gonna say it
screen.
now. I'm going to say it now, and this might be an unpopular opinion. It's an Inception episode. I'm giving my unpopular opinion while you are. The intro is better than the ending.
What? The intro is in just a black screen of nothing?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I kind of understand why it's there, but why is it so long? Because obviously it's like the dark, cold, empty abyss of space. I get that. That's what it's for, right?
I think it is, but I think no one here, neither you or I are claiming to understand the mind of Stanley Kubrick or what any of it means.
I don't think he knew.
No. But I think the intro is just so good. It really puts me on edge. I'll be honest. I watch it, black screen. I'm there. This really bizarre music, this bizarre humming and singing. It just puts me on edge, and it is a perfect introduction to the Dawn of Man sequence. It is brilliant. You have black screen, nothing but this jarring music, and jarring is going to be a big theme in my rebuttal for this, because it's just, you've got this black screen and you're hearing nothing but these noises that almost make you uncomfortable. And I don't know why you're falling asleep. Maybe you've not got the sound up high enough, but you've got that, and then you see the earth. You see the earth, and then cut, bang, we're there, Dawn of Man, and there's these apes making equally jarring sounds, horrible sounds that almost make me want to turn it down. I'll be honest, they almost makes me want to turn it down. And I just think that is so perfect for what's to come. It's that I'm already on edge and the film hasn't even really started. And then it starts, and I'm just put so much on edge that as much as you say nothing happens, I'm not going to say everything happens. I'm not saying it's a cut a minute, So small amounts happen, but it's so effective in its approach to this. We've got this music. We cut to the Dawn of Man, and we see these monkeys being acted very interestingly by some very devoted actors. They're jumping about, and then suddenly we get to this comparison between man and animal and the need to kill. When we see the leopard or similar animal kill a zebra and kill one of them before they discover the bone, and you get that really jarring scene from where we see man discover weaponry, And I think it's so interesting that we see that that's the dawn of man. It's not when we discover fire. It's not when we discover, I don't know, how to grow crops or anything like that. It's the moment we learn how to kill effectively. And I think that is so jarring and ready for the next part of the film that it just works so well.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's just the fact that sequence, after the 3 decades of silence, I mean, not silence, black screen, and then woo noises. That sequence, great. And it's just the fact that, like, the rest of the film, it's just like amazing scenes, and like, but padded across almost 3 hours. It's like a scene an hour at that point, like, because the rest of that film that just has nothing. And again, I get what you mean by, like, the music is jarring, and yeah, sure, but 3 minutes, really, like, too long. Cut already. Like, I'm not expecting this to be whatever Taken movie where they cut like 50 times for Liam Neeson to jump over a fence. That's not what I'm asking for. But I just don't understand why that was the choice there. If it was just maybe even like half the time, if it's like a minute and a half at top, like, yeah, sure. But nearly 3 minutes, really? Just seems a really odd choice for me.
I can certainly understand why you think, maybe it's too long. There's I think it is all in that idea of building this discomfort. And I think in cinema a lot of the time we're treated to visuals and we're treated to everything moving, everything grooving all the time. Everything's going on. Everything everywhere all at once is going on. That's a different episode.
Wait. Oh no.
That's a different episode. But no, I think it's all about, if we look at some of the movies that at least that I've seen that are there to make people uncomfortable. And I do genuinely think that is part of this film's aim. I think it's about creating this discomfort level so that even the slightest, even most simple actions in the film that might not be a huge explosion or might not be a death or this, that, or the other, feel really visceral almost. Someone just saying a few words, the iconic words of "we won't open the doors," feel horrible. And I think it's because if we look at films like Thomas Vinterberg's Festen, there's so much silence.
Yeah.
And I think sat in a cinema or sat at home in silence, forced to just look at whatever is on screen, it's kind of horrible, I think, a lot of the time. I think it's uncomfortable. And I think even though we're not sat in silence, I think the fact that we're forced to just sit, look at a black screen and hear nothing but those horrible musical voices makes me feel so uncomfortable that later on, when I hear that music again, when the group of them go to approach the monolith for the first time, I am so on edge. I'm so on edge. It's nothing but them approaching a glorified gravestone.
Yeah.
They're approaching a glorified paving slab, and I feel on edge, all because of this music that I've been forced to sit with.
But would you say that scene wouldn't be as impactful? The same music, because I agree that music is something else. If you didn't have that at 3 minutes at the start, would that not be as effective? Or if even... Okay, let's not say it wasn't there at all. If it was cut down by about half, are you saying that wouldn't have the same impact?
I genuinely don't think it would. I think the fact that I have to sit there for so long... it's almost like when you tell a joke and people don't laugh. And you're forced to just... That minute feels so long. I'm not sure if it is 3 minutes. Did you time it?
I timed it. It was 2 minutes 55.
2 minutes 55. Yeah. That 2 minutes 55 feels like an eternity.
It does. The whole film as a whole.
That is just outrageous. That is just outrageous. It feels like an eternity, and I think that is so effective. And I think it's certainly a brave choice And Stanley Kubrick is nothing but not a brave man.
Yeah.
But I think it's so effective. And I think to say that nothing happens throughout the rest of the film, all you can remember, don't get me wrong, there's iconic moments. You know, you've got the monkeys, you've got he says the door thing, and then we've got Big Baby.
Yeah, exactly. You know, 3. What else?
And that's fine. There's so many other bits.
Me.
You know, like I said, you know, we're going to see the monolith for the first time. And then we suddenly see this space age that we see this space age that we're in, where, you know, it seems absolutely crazy because I think the year's 1992 or something. It's
like that.
Absolutely insane. But, you know, we see this space age and we're setting up in that and we see how things function there, and that's really interesting in itself. And then you've got things, so you see, I don't know how you don't remember. Hibernation is a thing. They've used the idea of hibernation that is still used to... Have you seen Interstellar? It's the entire premise. It's insane. Like, this film did so much for sci-fi.
Oh, yeah. Like, at no point did I say that this film doesn't deserve the impact that it had on all of, like, the sci-fi genre in general. And, I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit to my conclusion about this film. But for me, this is the Citizen Kane of sci-fi. In that, not in the sense that, because that term is always used of like it's the best thing about it. I mean it in the sense that people say they've seen it, they haven't, they've just seen bits, and they're like, oh yeah, I know what I'm on about, and they just say yes, I've seen it because it's this big huge thing. That if you say you haven't seen it, then you especially coming from a film like Course, this and Citizen Kane are like the two. If you've not seen it, why are you here? Kind of films.
So you think that how iconic it is grown is sort of outgrown how effective it actually is? You think that people go into it, that people have blown it out of proportion, that you expect so much from it, and you go watch it and you go, you know what, this is good, but it's not that good. I think
those 3 scenes are just as good as everyone says they are. The rest of the film, nah.
So are you suggesting that without the rest of the film, those 3 scenes would be just as good?
Probably. I mean, they're the only things I remember about the film, so probably.
No.
Again, right? So, I don't know if this is like. I'm not saying every film course, obviously, but on mine we would like if we're just analyzing scenes for like how effective they are. That Dawn of Man scene is one, and I can tell you now, we did not include that 2 minutes and 55. We started from, like, the planet shot up until it, you know, it transitions into space. The rest of the film, we didn't do the rest of the film. It was just that. And, yeah, it's just as effective. I mean, in fairness, the start helps. And those other scenes, obviously, to say, like, yes, there'd be... You can't say that about any film, really, that those scenes would be just as effective out of context. In that they wouldn't make any sense. But... I think, with, like, the atmosphere that this film has, don't get me wrong, great, should not take 2.5 hours, though.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe it. It is so precise. And I know you're going to say it's not precise because it's nearly 3 hours long. But it is so precise in that this scene where literally all is said is that some doors won't be opened feels so gut-wrenching. It is insane. And we've got a man saying the same thing over and over again, and you just feel a bit more sick every time he says it. And then the words, "it can't be done," are said, and there's no response. It's just a facial expression. And because of how jarring that difference throughout the film is, we see moments of really loud and then really quiet, and then really loud and really quiet. And obviously sound has a lot to play in this film, but you know, we see moments of really impactful and a little bit more slow, but it's all about building that environment of this is real and this is the reality of things. And so when you've got a man who's it's just on his face, the shot is just on his face, close up on his face, and you know how horrible it feels right now. And it's not a case of, oh, it's horrible that he's locked out. It's horrible that this system that has been designed to protect and help and serve suddenly is making its own decisions. And that is just gut-wrenching. And I think if you were to cut the film down by even 30 minutes, I'll take that back. If you were to cut the film down, if you were to cut the film down by an hour, I just don't think you're going to have that effect. I don't think that you're going to have that effect where a man in complete silence is having to hold his breath while he flies through a ship, or because he's had to open it a different way, or how I don't think it's going to have the effect when Hal is being turned off and his voice is slowly getting lower and lower while he sings Daisy. It's just it's almost perfect in its pacing, I would say.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay.
I'm not saying it's not a challenging watch, and I'm not saying it's I fancy something easy. It's either this or
it's not like a Sunday afternoon
Pokemon
watch.
Detective Pikachu. It's
Right.
not here or there, but it's
Right.
I think for what it's trying to do, I think it just does it so well, and I think the length is not something that I would critique this film for. There are no film is perfect. There are definitely parts that I would take out. Like, I personally would say that I don't really like how long the ending scene is. I think that is the only part of the film that I think is a bit too long.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too indulgent, I'll be honest. So that, for example, or the fact that they've got a main character called Dave.
What are you saying? You know what? This or Minions, like both called Dave protagonists, and I know which one is an
certainly on the same level. And Stanley
definitely.
Kubrick, it will be so happy that you've made that comparison.
Oh,
He's going to be so glad that his film prowess has boiled down to 2001: A Space Odyssey or Minions.
I think I just had my master's degree revoked. But yeah, no, I just feel like I get why, in a sense, why it's as long as it is, because I feel like it kind of ties in with like the whole space thing, and he's having to go through this, and you're kind of struggling with him. At which point, this film arguably could be used as a torture device, because you've got to suffer with him. So it's
No.
just
I'm sorry.
You
you've had your
empathise with him because you're suffering as well.
No, this is the first time I'm going to shout at you, and I'm not going to let... You've had your 2 minutes. Did you just call this film a torture device? Are you crazy? Are you serious? No, I will not have that. There are films out there that are torture devices. Joss Whedon's Justice League is one of them. But, the fact that 2001: A Space Odyssey, you've just called a torture device, is outrageous.
Okay.
That is absolutely outrageous. And I know there are so many people out there that will agree with me there, that this is nowhere near that bad. Nowhere near that bad.
I'm not saying the quality of the film, in that sense, that from a narrative point of view. I will change it from torture device method to endurance test of how long can you keep your eyes open for. It's just, again, it's one of them films that I feel it feels bad to say these things out loud. I would like to preface that. I get that what I'm doing is essentially the same level as committing a hate crime.
And wrong.
But it's not like I say I want to get rid of this film, because again, I said up top that this film has way more positives than negatives. It's just the fact that this film, again, is put up on such a high pedestal, and it's perfect, and obviously it inspired so many other things, and I'm just saying I would rather watch the things it inspired than this. It's one of those... Originally, when I watched this for the first time, I think I actually messaged you and said that it was a tough watch, and it was like a one and done. It's like, I can say that I've seen it, not really ever again.
I remember you messaging me and saying, I'm watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I was so excited, because honestly, it's just so effective. And then 3 hours later, I got a message going, God, that was, one and done, never again. And here we are, you've had to watch it again.
I've had to watch it again.
all for the content. But can I just reiterate, this film was made in 1968.
I know. I'm
Like,
not.
like how? There's so many things in it. If nothing else, you should be able to just appreciate how incredible some of the stuff this film does is. And don't get me wrong, like we said, it's not a perfect film.
No.
There's no means is it perfect. But there's so much that it does that you should just be able to go, you know what? I'll take the extra 40 minutes that I didn't necessarily want to watch, because that right there is impressive. I have no clue how they did the space scenes. I have technically I have no clue. And I think that is just...
I'm not
if
saying
nothing
I don't
else,
appreciate that.
You should concede on the fact that this is just... This walked so Interstellar could run.
Again, like I said, the set and the art design, incredible. The sound design, phenomenal. The effects, so like you say, the space stuff. I'm fairly sure, like, I can't remember where I saw it, but how they did like the floating pen at the start of the film as well. Or that could have been like 3/5 of the way through with how long that opening was. But like, I'm fairly sure that was like, it was like rotating like a huge bit of glass or something. I can't quite remember how they did it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Don't get me wrong. This film, it made special effects this huge thing, and they advanced it. I appreciate that. I'm not saying I don't. What this has done for the sci-fi genre in general, amazing. But I can appreciate that from a distance. Preferably not watching the film.
Well, before I explode, I'm gonna have to move on to the moment where we give our 3 points and argue in just 3 points why this should be a popular or unpopular opinion. And if you could reiterate what your opinion is, if you could just give your opinion once more, so we're all fully aware of how wrong you are.
Alright, so I think this film is a boring, beautiful masterpiece, and my reasoning, or like my takeaway from this really, is that yes, it deserves that praise that it gets. It's iconic and it changed the genre. Okay, I will give you that. I'm not trying to take that away from you. However, if it was like half an hour shorter, I think I would love this film. I think maybe. It feels, if you took out bits all the way through, I'm not saying like chop off the ending or anything like that, but if it was slightly shorter, again, I think you're right in saying that an hour, too much. Because it needs that time to set up the atmosphere of it. I'll give you that. But there's a lot of it that's just so slow. Again, you chop out half an hour. Perfect. But like, people are too scared to say, I think that's what this is, that people are too scared to say this out loud, that this has kind of become the Citizen Kane of sci-fi, in that everyone says they've seen it, but have they actually? And it's up there to sort of say this is this perfect film, when in actually it's alright. Like, just because it had such a massive effect, is it actually as good? And I would say,
Well, there's certainly some final points. I'm going to have to give mine, because I just can't let you get away with this, if I'm honest. I think, the reason this should remain unpopular, and my God, it should, I think to try and rush a film like this just ruins it. I think, this film takes its time, it builds its discomfort, and it builds this atmosphere where even a pin drop feels gut-wrenching. And that's something that this film needs. I think, if we were to lose that, if we were to cut it down, if we were to take an hour or 40 minutes from this film, I think that's gone. I think so much of that just becomes nothing. And I just I don't think you can come at this and say nothing happens, because while the detail might be small and it's not all crashes and bangs and flashes of light, things happen and scenes play out to create the impact that's needed in those later scenes. And I think finally, my final point, I think if nothing else, out of respect, you need to, for this film that is so iconic and has done so much for not just sci-fi as a genre, for the film industry and for filmmaking as a whole. A film that came out in 1968. 1968, I think, if anything, if nothing else, if I cannot convince you that this film is a perfect length, I think out of nothing but respect, you should give Mr. Kubrick 40 minutes of your time for the beauty that he created and what he did for the industry with this film.
I mean, I came into this knowing that I wasn't going to win anyway. And I think this is definitely the most, like, egregious opinion that I have. That I know is just wrong. And
I think it's certainly one that's gonna cause an uproar. But I think you'll be surprised that there will definitely be people out there who are going to agree with you.
Yeah,
and
but
to those people, I say, please leave. Find the exit.
My thing though is that it's not like I go into this film being like, well, where's the explosions and where's the that's not what I know. That's not what this is. It's just that I'm not saying that I don't want to, as you said, like the pin drop being gut wrenching. I mean, that is like the closest thing to like an action scene, really. But like, I know this film isn't really. That would be like going into something like a character drama or something and expecting, big explosions and building, that sort of thing. I know that's not what this is. But give me something. Come on.
And I'm afraid on this occasion I can't. You haven't convinced me.
I knew I probably wouldn't, but just as a kind of final wrap up there is that I felt as old as he looks by the end of watching this film.
And that is an opinion that can send you into the shadows, young man.
I gathered.
Get that unpopular opinion, wrap it up and keep it to yourself. That's that. It remains unpopular. Stanley Kubrick and his 2001 A Space Odyssey isn't too long. Or at least we don't think so. What do you think? Let us know over on our social media, which are...
on Twitter, it's @DisputePod, and Instagram, it's Directorial_Disputes.
And now, I'm off to send Josh some anonymous hate letters.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, because we're 1-1 now, 2 episodes in, so...
1-1.
I don't know where we're going to be on the next episode.
Gonna have to bring it back.
Well...
Gonna have to bring it back. I can't let someone with those sort of opinions go. But we'll have to see next week.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.